Have you ever heard a story so strange, so unsettling, that it burrows into your mind and refuses to leave? Today, we're re-diving into one of the most chilling and debated mysteries of the 20th century, the Dyatlov Pass incident. This isn't just a campfire story. It's a real-life puzzle that has baffled investigators, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for over 60 years. So, grab a warm drink, settle in, and let's journey back to the freezing Ural Mountains of 1959. Our story begins with a group of 10 young, vibrant individuals. These weren't amateur hikers. They were seasoned, Grade 2 certified skiers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in the Soviet Union. Led by the charismatic 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, they were embarking on an ambitious expedition. Their goal was to traverse 300 kilometers of treacherous, snow-covered terrain to reach a mountain named Ural. Completing this journey would earn them the highest honor for a Soviet hiker, a Grade 3 certification. The group was a tight-knit bunch of friends and fellow students, full of life and excitement for the adventure ahead. There was Igor Dyatlov, the natural leader. There were the two women of the group, Zinaida Kolmogorova and Ludmila Dubinina, both known for their strength and spirit. And there was Semyon Zolotaryov, a slightly older, mysterious man who joined the expedition at the last minute. In late January 1959, the group set off from the city of Sverdlovsk, now known as Yekaterinburg, their spirits high despite the brutal February cold that awaited them. The early days of the trek were documented in diaries and photographs recovered later. The images paint a picture of camaraderie and youthful optimism. They showed the group smiling, building fires, and skiing through the vast, beautiful, yet unforgiving landscape of the northern Urals. One member, Yuri Yudin, was forced to turn back early due to severe leg and joint pain. It was a decision that, while disappointing at the time, would ultimately save his life. He said goodbye to his 9 friends, having no idea it would be the last time he'd ever see them alive. The remaining 9 hikers pressed on. They were scheduled to send a telegram from their destination around February 12th. When that date came and went with no word, their families began to worry. At first, delays were expected on such a difficult trek, but as days turned into weeks, the silence became deafening. A search and rescue operation was launched. On February 26th, the search party made their first grim discovery. They found the group's tent pitched on the slope of a mountain known by the local Mansi people as Kholat Syakhl, which translates to Dead Mountain. The scene was bizarre. The tent was half buried in snow and, strangely, had been sliced open from the inside. All of the group's belongings, their clothes, their shoes, their food were still neatly arranged inside. It was as if they had fled in a sudden panic, without stopping to grab even the most essential gear for survival in the Arctic conditions. Outside the tent, a trail of footprints led down the slope towards a nearby forest. The footprints showed that the hikers were either barefoot, wearing only socks, or had just a single boot on. Why would 9 experienced mountaineers abandon the safety of their tent in the middle of the night, so inadequately dressed for temperatures that plunged to -40 degrees Celsius? The first 2 bodies were found about a mile away, under a large cedar tree at the edge of the forest. They were the bodies of Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were dressed only in their underwear. Nearby were the remains of a small fire. The branches of the cedar tree above them were broken up to a height of 5 meters, suggesting someone had tried to climb it, perhaps to get a better view or to escape from something. A short distance away, between the cedar tree and the camp, 3 more bodies were discovered: Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slit. Their positions suggested they were trying to make their way back up the hill to the tent. They had died separately, seemingly succumbing to the cold on their desperate journey back to shelter. At this point, the initial conclusion seemed tragic but straightforward. The hikers had gotten lost or disoriented in the dark and frozen to death. The official cause of death for these first 5 was listed as hypothermia, but the mystery was far from solved, for members of the group were still missing. The search continued for 2 more months. It wasn't until May, when the thick winter snow began to melt, that the final 4 hikers were found. Their discovery turned a tragic accident into a deeply disturbing enigma. Lyudmila, Dubinina, Semyon, Zolotaryov, Alexander Kolevatov, and Nikolai Thibobriknol were found in a ravine, buried under 4 meters of snow, not far from the cedar tree. Unlike the first 5, these 4 had suffered horrific, violent injuries. Thibobriknol had a major skull fracture. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had multiple broken ribs, described by the medical examiner as being consistent with the force of a high-speed car crash. What kind of force could inflict such devastating internal injuries without leaving any significant external bruising? Even more grotesquely, Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lip. Zolotaryov was missing his eyeballs, and Kolevatov was missing his eyebrows. The investigators were stumped. The official Soviet inquiry concluded in May 1959 with a famously vague statement: the hikers died as a result of a compelling natural force. The case was closed, the files were classified, and the area was sealed off for years. This lack of a clear explanation only fueled speculation, giving birth to dozens of theories that range from the plausible to the outright paranormal. Let's explore some of them. One of the most common early theories was an attack by the local Mansi people, who might have been angered by the hikers trespassing on their sacred lands. However, the investigation found no evidence of other people in the area. The nature of the injuries didn't align with a human attack, and the Mansi were known to be a peaceful people. What about an animal attack, like a bear? Again, no animal tracks were found, and a bear attack would have left very different kinds of external wounds and torn clothing. Another popular theory involves secret military weapons testing. The idea is that the hikers accidentally stumbled upon a secret test site and were either killed by an explosion or eliminated by Soviet special forces to cover it up. Some witnesses reported seeing strange orange spheres or lights in the sky around the time of the incident. Traces of radiation were also found on some of the hikers' clothing. However, the radiation levels were low, and the severe internal injuries don't quite fit with the typical explosion. Then we enter the realm of the truly strange. Theories about UFOs and alien encounters have been around for decades. Did the group witness something they weren't supposed to see in the sky? Did this cause them to flee in terror? It's a captivating idea, but one without any concrete evidence. Another scientific theory that has gained traction is this theory suggests that certain wind conditions around the mountain could create very low-frequency sound waves below the level of human hearing. Infrasound has been known to induce feelings of intense panic, dread, and nausea. Could this have caused the group to irrationally tear their way out of the tent and flee into the deadly cold? It explains the panic, but it doesn't explain the brutal internal injuries. For decades, the mystery remained frozen in time. But recently, new scientific investigations have shed more light on what might have happened. In 2019, the Russian government reopened the case. Their conclusion, announced in 2020, pointed to an avalanche. They proposed that a small avalanche struck the tent, causing the initial panic and forcing the group to cut their way out. In the darkness and disorientation of a blizzard, they fled downhill to the forest. Some then died of hypothermia, while others, seeking shelter from the wind in the ravine, were later buried and crushed by a second, more powerful avalanche, which would explain the severe chest and skull trauma. This avalanche theory has been further supported by a 2021 study from Swiss scientists. They used computer simulations and even analytics from the Disney movie Frozen to model how a specific type of avalanche, called a slab avalanche, could have occurred on that slope. A slab avalanche happens when a block of snow slides down, and it can be triggered hours after a cut is made in the snowpack, like the one the hikers made to set up their tent. This model suggests that a relatively small slab of snow could have slid down and landed on the tent, causing the non-lethal but terrifying injuries that drove them out, and the more severe injuries found on the bodies in the ravine. The avalanche theory is the most scientifically sound explanation we have. It explains the sliced tent, the flight from the camp, the hypothermia, and even the crushing internal injuries. As for the missing soft tissues, the official explanation is that the bodies were in a stream of running water for almost 3 months, and decomposition, along with small scavengers, caused the damage. And yet, for many, this explanation still feels incomplete. Why were there no clear signs of an avalanche found by the original search party, who were experienced in the mountains? Why would experienced hikers set up camp in an avalanche-prone area? And what about the strange lights in the sky? The Dyatlov Pass incident is a perfect storm of mystery. It has all the elements: a remote location, A group of young adventurers, bizarre and contradictory evidence, and a vague official conclusion from a secretive government. It's a story where the more you learn, the more questions you have. Today, a memorial stands near the site, honoring the 9 lives that were lost in the cold of the Ural Mountains. Their story has become a legend, a cautionary tale, and one of the world's most enduring unsolved mysteries. Was it a tragic, freak accident of nature, or was it something more? Something stranger. We may never know for sure. The truth, perhaps, remains buried under the snow on Dead Mountain. What do you think happened on that fateful night? Let me know your theories in the comments below. It's a fascinating and tragic case that continues to capture our imagination. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in more deep dives into historical mysteries, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay curious.